And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're talking about the Washington Commanders and the possibility of them making a trade. And so I thought that this was interesting. This is something that was reported originally by ESPN, but Adam Scheffler has come out and said that multiple NFL players have disclosed either in private or to their representation that they would like to be traded to the Commanders before the November 5th trade line. And they're saying that this is obviously a direct result of Washington's 6-2 start and just the hype around Jaden Daniels and how successful this team has been. And so, look, that is huge news, all right? Because with that being said, I don't know any time that I can remember where players have really wanted to request a trade to the Washington Commanders. I mean, I've talked about this before and breaking down some possible trades, but in our last owner and then just the management, it was a mess. And just thinking back at some of those messes that we have had, I mean, a lot of it came in free agency with just the spending sprees that we had, whether it was going out there and getting Jeff George and signing him to 4 years, $18 million. That was a disaster right there, considering that we had let Brad Johnson go, who went on to win a Super Bowl, and he was with us. And so, I mean, it's just moves like that. We brought also in Donovan McNabb. We got him via trade as well, and then we re-signed him. That turned out to be a disaster. The Carson Wentz deal, like I didn't think that necessarily kind of moved the needle, and you knew that we needed to get a franchise quarterback. So, I mean, it's been several things that have happened with this Washington Commanders as far as getting the right players in place that it just has not happened. And lastly, I remember the Albert Haynesworth signing. I thought that was ridiculous as well. And so I love the fact that we actually have players that are wanting to come to the Washington Commanders because they're playing winning football. And this is huge because I think that this is also going to open it up for us in free agency. I just talked about the free agency disasters that the Washington Commanders have had. But one of the things that this article talks about is that perhaps a player like T. Higgins might be a player that the Washington Commanders could possibly get in free agency, which I think is very realistic. Like a T. Higgins could possibly want to come. Talked about Trey Smith could be available from Kansas City. And so those would certainly be some big free agents for us. I don't think that this front office is going to be the front office that is going to overpay for players. And I think that this front office has really got the Washington Commanders in a good spot because they are looking for the long-term plan. And I've said this before, just covering an NBA team, that really it's all about the long term because it doesn't matter if you open up a short window and then that's it. And because what happens is you give up your future and you're generally overpaying for that. You don't want to give up draft capital in which these players could be around for the next, 5-6 years or whatever it is. You might have a player for a year. And so with that being said, just looking again at some of the trades that the Washington Commanders might look at. I talked about it before with Mike Williams. I think that is a player that he's out there. If we're looking to get a wide receiver, I would say that we certainly would want to get something to go with Terry McLaurin. A Mike Williams deal at this point might be something that the Washington Commanders can do, given that Mike Williams is probably not going to, I think, cost you a lot at this point because Mike Williams just hasn't gotten along with Aaron Rodgers in that situation. So the Jets might be wanting to go ahead and part ways with Mike Williams, for something that really is not going to be a big deal for the Commanders as far as draft capital is concerned. And, as far as the money is concerned, I don't think that you're paying a lot for Mike Williams. Does he do a lot for us as far as lifting the top on a defense? I don't think it's necessarily to the point in which he was at when he was with the Chargers. I thought he was a lot better then than he's been now. I think coming back from that injury, I don't know if he's necessarily been the same. I don't know if he gets over to this offense and it's suddenly going to unlock things for Terry McLaurin, for Noah Brown, and these guys like that. So I'm kind of hesitant with Mike Williams. Darius Slayton, another player that's been mentioned out there. once again, I said he's with the Giants, and I don't know if the Giants and Washington would necessarily make a deal. That is a divisional rival, and I could see that the Giants might want a little bit more than maybe what the Commanders would want to give. Darius Slayton is a guy that he can be a three-level kind of route runner out there. He certainly can get it done for you. He would help Terry McLaurin, but I don't think that the Washington Commanders would necessarily explore a deal like that, and I don't think the Giants would want to trade him within the division. Adam Thielen. This is another player that he reminds me a little bit of the same situation as Mike Williams. Like they're players that have been pretty successful in this league, but due to some injuries and just kind of slowing down, I think that this would be something that this is a short term. I don't know if Adam Thielen would be a guy that you could pair with Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, and it's going to make this offense that much more dynamic. And I just don't know if it's worth giving up some draft capital for that, even if it's a draft pick, that's much later in the draft. I don't think that that's something that Adam Peters and this franchise would explore, but he's certainly out there. I talked a little bit about Cooper Kupp and possibly the Washington Commanders making a move for him. I think that, certainly he helps a lot in that short term. I think that he definitely would lift the top off of Terry McLaurin for sure. But I think that that would absolutely be a short term fix. And you're thinking about the injury concerns and things like that. And I don't think that they're necessarily going to trade him. And I'm talking about the Rams, especially since they got Nakua back as well. I think that they're going to be all in on the second half of the season and really see where they can go, because there was a lot of trade speculations around the Rams and the possibility that they would go out and even trade Matthew Stafford. I don't think that that's going to happen at this point in time. Christian Kirk, I think he was a player that was drawing some interest. And I like Christian Kirk. I think that he could absolutely be a player that could help the Washington Commanders. But right now, his season's ended with the fractured collarbone that he got last week. And so I think that that deal is probably off the table. And, I think that at this point now, the Washington Commanders are probably going to be looking at, if he's available, Marshawn Lattimore. Like, I would definitely take Marshawn Lattimore. I've liked what he's been able to do, certainly as a great cornerback. I think this is something that the Washington Commanders could absolutely use, is Marshawn Lattimore. I still think he has some good years left in him, so maybe they would go with him. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you are thinking about these Washington Commanders and this recent news that players are requesting to come to the Washington Commanders. Do you think that the Washington Commanders are going to make a blockbuster deal before the trade deadline? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. As usual, this is the Washington Commanders Insider. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the Washington Commanders and the Giants, as we got just one more video before it is going to be game time. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.